Okay, here we have our rotary 4-post hoist, as you can see. With this hoist, the whole vehicle actually has to drive on, and it's very important in the setup of this hoist for its safety. So make sure that you have safety glasses, a shop coat, and your closed-toed shoes whenever you're working in the shop. And first things first is we're going to show you the setup before we do any of the controls. Okay, one of the first things in terms of setup of this hoist is to make sure that you have somebody guide you on and direct you onto the hoist squarely, as to make sure that the vehicle has an equal amount of space on each ramp. Okay? So I will give the driver the signal, and I will stand to the side as I wave him in, just in case there's any issues with the car coming in that I'm not in the vehicle's way. Okay. So drive in slowly and gently guide the person in. That way, straighten out. Okay, as you can see, the vehicle is pulled up, fairly centered on the hoist. And the next thing you want to do is be sure that the driver puts the vehicle in park and sets the e-brake on. So before I lift the vehicle, one of the first things I have to do is just to make sure that there is no movement. Depending if I have to take the vehicle out of gear for any reason, for being able to move the tires in the air, I want to first chalk the tires. Okay, now that I know that my vehicle is square on the hoist, I've got my wheels locked, vehicle's in park, the e-brake's on, I can now make sure that I'm ready to raise the vehicle. So the first things first is to take note of your features for raising the vehicle. First, you have on the front, of course, a 90-degree turn dial on. That will bring the lift up. On the side here, we have a pneumatic lock. So this is actually for the mechanical locks that will allow the vehicle to be lifted and locked in the air. And in the front, right below my on switch, I have a hydraulic release, which brings the vehicle down once I'm ready. So first things first is we're going to go up, and we want to listen for the latches engaging, same as we do on the 2-post hoist. As the vehicle gets to the top, you want to make sure that all the latches have clicked once and you've heard it. You can hear all 4. And then as the vehicle's up at the height you wish, you now have to lower the hoist onto the mechanical locks to be sure that the whole weight of the vehicle is supported by the posts of the hoist. So I'll just hold down my hydraulic release, and the vehicle is stable, and it will no longer lower even if I push down on my release. Okay, once you have your vehicle up in the air and settled, and you have your wheels chalked and everything, one of the handy features of the 4-post hoist is if you actually need to take the wheels off, we have these center jacks. These are pneumatic and hydraulic controlled center jacks. They slide back and forth to allow for easy adjustment, and each arm will slide out to engage the frame at the appropriate lift point. Also, there's these rubber pads that go inside the squares on them to actually line up with your lower control arms or with your frame or whichever part of the vehicle you're going to lift on. So to operate this jack, before I put it in place, I'll show you the features. We have our up switch, which is you push on the front lever, and that brings the jack up. The opposite side is your release. It lowers the jack. And on the left-hand side, we have a mechanical lock. And just like the hoist, we need to make sure that when you bring the jack down, it's going to rest on that mechanical lock before you use it. Okay, so I'll set this up. I go up. And so soon you'll see this actual mechanical lock drop down and latch. Okay, so it's dropped one click. It can only go 2 clicks. And now I lower the weight of the vehicle onto that latch. And you'll see that it's locked and it will not go down anymore. Now I'm safe to take off my wheels and do any service work that's required. Okay, and same as the hoist, to go down now, we have to go up first. So I'm going to raise it until I can lift this lever on the left-hand side. My lock is clear, and now I just lower the vehicle and watch your head because the vehicle is going to drop down. And as the jack comes back, just slide it into the center, take off your rubber blocks, and pull it back out of the way. Okay, now that I'm done underneath the vehicle doing any work, whether it was an oil change or any front end work, one of the first things I want to make sure of course, before I lower the vehicle, is that I've buttoned up everything underneath. So therefore my oil plug would be tightened, or any of the bolts or things I would have been dealing with are by now torqued to their proper value, and my work's done. Okay, so now to bring the vehicle down after the work is completed, of course, similar to the 2-post hoist, we must go up to lift the weight of the vehicle off the locks, and then release the locks, which are the pneumatic locks on the 4-post hoist, and then we can lower it, such as this. Now I hold the locks, so I'm going to hold up on the pneumatic lever, and now I'm just going to bring down the car nice and slow, and before I do that I'm going to make sure it's all clear, so I'm going to yell clear, make sure there's no other classmates in the way, no toolboxes, and I'll bring down the car slowly. Now I want to make sure the hoist is all the way down, and then I can release both levers. And then I'm good to go. I just have to make sure I remove my wheel chocks under the front tire, and any tools hopefully by now have been removed from around the hoist, and I'm ready to back it out. So that's the 4-post hoist.